Welcome to What is Going On in the UC. And today we're going to talk about identity. It seems that a friend of mine asked me to discuss how to help BCs understand their identity. In the dictionary it says that identity is the state of having unique characteristics held by no other person or thing. My uniqueness is my identity. That is one way of looking at identity. I think that's relatively an external way of looking at a person's identity. But we're not talking about physical identity, are we? We are talking about spiritual identity. So another definition in the dictionary says, the state of being the same in nature or quality. Now the first definition is kind of like, okay, so I got hair this long and I got eyes this color, forehead this shape, my ring finger is longer than my pointer finger. The second definition says that my identity is to be seen in the qualities that I have. There are two ways to look at the qualities, the internal, spiritual, behavioral qualities that people have. One is that their qualities are a function of their lineage, that their qualities are a function of the influences that they have been under as being the child of the people who bore them. The second way of looking at a person's qualities are the qualities that he has become ripe in developing. Let's say the oldest son of a family. We can identify him as saying he is the oldest son of the Johnson family. But if he doesn't maximize the behavior and responsibilities that go along with elder sonship, then from another point of view, we can say the younger son became the elder son, and this is through the qualities that he adopted or developed. Because he behaves more like an older brother to his siblings than the actual older brother, then in a sense he becomes the elder brother. Again, from one position, there are the raw materials that we've inherited. From the Johnson family, we have a certain amount of Johnsonness. But how we choose to develop that is still up to us. So there are two ways to look at this whole issue of identity. Now we're going to talk about what I think my friend was really getting at. If there was no fall, there would be no reason to have this discussion, because our identity would be one with everything. It's because Adam and Eve fundamentally changed their identity from children of God to children of Satan. That's why we're having this discussion, because there are two fundamental identities. So the question is, why? Really? Why is our identity so hard to put our finger on? And it's because we are one with the system. Let's just say everything in the world was red, right? Then, would we actually have a word called red? No, we wouldn't even have a word red, because there would be nothing to distinguish red from any other color, because everything is colored red. So we wouldn't have the word red. So when you're in a fallen world and everything around you is the same system, you don't recognize any differences, then the issue of identity is just foreign to you. First of all, once you see that the fallen world brings about pain, that the entire system moves towards pain, moves individuals, families, situations, governments, nations, cities, families towards pain, spiritual death, physical death, and destruction, and you see that something else is possible, this is the seed of seeing two worlds. This is like imagining your whole world was red. Everyone that you saw around you only saw the color red. But something happens. You're able to see color now. You're able to see color, and everything doesn't show up as red to you. Because you've had that epiphany, And because your eyes were opened, you actually start to be an agent of a completely different world. You actually become a part of a new world, whether you want to or not. That new ability to see in this new dimension has made you an agent of a new possibility. When you start to see the same possibilities that God foresaw, and you start to be enrolled in it, that's one way to say that you are becoming the son or the offspring, the after effect of God's will, of God. A blessed child won't understand what it means that their life is distinct, in that it is the result of a certain kind of love and even a certain kind of worldview and even a certain kind of hope. And that hope is qualitatively equivalent to the original hope of God. That means that that child is the son or daughter of God. When a person's life is the result of the fallen world and fallen thoughts and fallen hopes and fallen passions, his life is an after effect of something that we can say is Satan. It means that the same energies and themes that brought about his existence are qualitatively the same as the passions and hopes that Satan has. So, ultimately, there are two ways to come into the knowledge of who you are. They don't happen when you're a baby. They happen as you really absorb the whole issue of what the world is. You must come to the brink of destruction before you even see what God would be even trying to accomplish. Because when you realize that the world has self-destruction baked into it, you have to see it for yourself. That is when some of us run towards God looking for a solution. And that is when we will find that there is a force that has been working, and you will be able to recognize its footsteps in history. And when you recognize that its footsteps, those footsteps have actually led to your very life, that is the time that the blessed children will realize the significance of the way in which they were brought into the world. And that's just understanding their identity in the first way. Understanding that identity in the second way comes when they make choices to unite with the will of God that they've been able to track. When they make those choices, they start to purposely, actively wear their identity and actually put on, it's like putting on the robe of God, putting on the robe of true parents, or putting the robe of saints, and putting the robe of providence on. And from an angelic point of view, spiritual beings whose eyes open can see that person dressed in the same sort of like spiritual uniform of people of God. There isn't anything that you can do to make someone's eyes open to, quote unquote, who they are. But there are some things that you can do to help them. And shielding blessed children from the world is not a good idea. Taking your children out to see the world, holding your children's hand and being together with them as they engage the world, being there when those critical moments of heartbreak happen, when hell just does what it does and brings enough sadness actually to your child, then maybe your child might understand the difference between the fallen world and the inner world from which they came. And hopefully it makes them feel good about who they are. And then hopefully they will want to continue in that spirit for the sake of their children and for the sake of the world, thus sealing their identity, something that Adam and Eve did not do. Adam and Eve had been born with an identity from a certain spirit, but Adam and Eve did not seal that by following suit and uniting with God and following through with God's hope. They abandoned it and became something different and started something completely different. And this world comes from what they started. So I hope this helps. Talk to you later. Bye.